Hey there, my name is Spud Jones. This is my beautiful wife Sheena Jones and our nice little doodle Tessa Jones. And on today's episode of Venue Rescue, I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different. We are going to be interviewing Sheena here because what we're going to be talking about today is the underwriting process of when you purchase a business. And we kind of both have our strengths and weaknesses and what we do in our business. And Sheena does all the financing and everything. So she's the one that underwrites our businesses. She underwrites all the wholesales and underwrites houses that we bought and flipped. So, quick introduction for you, Sheena.
Hi there. So I take care of the financial side, as Kyle was saying, working through spreadsheets. I even do that with clients of mine through my CPA virtual firm as well that I've been running since 2020. So yeah, this is the fun part behind the scenes, but ever so important. And apparently it's the boring part to Tess, but she'll sit through it because she has to be involved.
So I guess that takes us to the question, how long have you been a CPA?
Yeah, so I got my CPA license in 2009. So this was my 16th tax season because I officially started in 2008 as an intern back in Boise. So I've been doing this a while.
Good. So, and that's a good thing, just to give you kind of an understanding of what she does and her background. So back on topic here about underwriting. So some people might not know, and it's one of those things I didn't really know either until I met you, is what exactly is underwriting, and is this part of the due diligence process?
Yeah, so underwriting is taking a look at the financials of the business and basically bankers do it. If you've bought a house, they ask for your W-2, they ask for pay stubs, they ask for maybe bank statements, they check your credit score. They are underwriting you to see your credit worthiness in buying a house. So when you're looking at commercial properties or even rental properties, right, you're underwriting the asset. Now everything is on the asset, not you personally. So when we looked at the venue ourselves, we got financial statements, we got tax returns, we got, what else did we get? Bank statements, we got property taxes, we got payroll information, and we went through a spreadsheet and worked the numbers. And then you also do something called a pro forma, and you estimate or forecast years out what you think the property can do. Because a bank wants to see a 1.2, 1.25 debt to service ratio on the asset itself. That means that the business will make the money 1.25 times the debt that's owed on it. So very important to underwrite the business and to understand those.
Oh, that's very good. And that's a lot of information. That's exactly why you use a CPA in this type of stuff. And the question then is underwriting for a commercial business or building a little bit different than underwriting a home for sale?
Yeah, kind of how I started off saying how a mortgage company is underwriting you personally. Now, when you're underwriting on a commercial, you're underwriting the asset. That's the big difference. They will typically consider your credit score when you're looking at a bank. And what was really different is we bought seller financing. So the landlord or the seller looked at our personal financial statements, what we had in the bank and our assets and everything and our credit score. But when you're doing that for a property, you want the property to service itself, as opposed to saying, can your W-2 cover the job, right?
Gotcha.
So that's the big difference.
Gotcha. So I guess you kind of went over some of those things that when you're doing underwriting, what you're going to be looking for and all that, which was the financials, the payroll, the marketing, all that, and the property taxes. So a question that I have then is, when you're underwriting for a business, what's the most important thing that you may be looking for?
Yeah, the most important part, you're wanting to make sure that the asset can cover its debt and its expenses. And so that's the insurance to the bank. And you want to know that you don't personally have to cover those expenses, as we have had to do somewhat in our business, right? As it's very cyclical. And there's also underwriting to make sure you're meeting those marks, like For instance, as we've talked to other venue owners, an election year is usually a down year, so we're really feeling that. Or there's also, for the wedding world, they're calling it the COVID gap right now, where people weren't dating as much when we were on lockdown, and the trend is dating several years and then getting engaged and all of that. So there's down years, and you have to see, okay, can the business survive and cover itself?
Yeah.
So that's an important piece of things. Also, what you're wanting to look for when you're underwriting is looking at their profit and loss statement. Do you see anything unusual, running percentages, looking at their KPIs to see what's happening and is it making sense? Some red flags, I would say, that kind of jumping into your next question, I guess,
yeah.
as I'm reading your notes, because it cycles into that, is where if you see big repairs, that's one thing to take note of. But it also, on the flip side, if you don't see any repairs, it's something else. Like, is the property not being taken care of? Are they paying for those expenses outside of the business and the owner's covering it themselves, and then you're going to be in for a rude surprise? So that's something we learned, is there were a lot of, what would you call it? Band-aid fixes. And when it was done properly, it was huge expenses that really cut into our profit. When I underwrote our venue, we were on track to do really well, and we had a lot of money in savings, and all of that was taken away with a big expense that we had no control of. So those are things, because when we looked at the financials, the repairs were pretty minimal overall, and that should have been a bigger red flag or something to watch. Like, hey, are you going to have a lot of surprises? I would say something similar to home ownership. Sometimes you buy a house and then, oh shoot, there goes the furnace, there goes the dishwasher. It's typically a homeowner is like ready to move when things are all getting broken. Or cars. When do you want to sell your car? When it starts not working to the best. So things to just be mindful of.
Gotcha. And then, so during that underwriting process, how far back in years do you go into the financials?
I mean, honestly, if you could go back several years, it's the best. Getting the more data is better. You're wanting to look for trends and seeing what's happening. Are you seeing growth? Are you seeing it consistently take losses? And you're also wanting to ask explanations of those. You want to sit down and spend time with the owner, the business management themselves, and really understand where those numbers are coming from.
Gotcha. So, and is there anything that you wish you could have done differently when underwriting and before you purchased this wedding business?
Yeah, I would say I kind of touched on them a little bit, but I think honestly, we thought we could jump in and turn it around in the number of events was one thing, was something that was we really learned, where it takes time. It takes time to get the traction. It takes time to maybe change your ideal client. You can't just jump in and turn around a business quite as quick without the putting in the costs. And we put in a lot of advertising dollars, but a lot of that got eaten with expenses, because we were putting money away. So a quick example is, I have a client that has a small hotel, and we consistently save money for the winter season because summer is very busy, winter is slower, and that helps supplement the income of the slower months, which is something I implemented immediately with us, saving $5,000 a month. We watched our savings grow really well, and then it got cleared out. And so I think I would have really gone through and done a harder look at what was the inner makings of the business, and asking more detailed questions of the seller, of repairs, of who, what, where, when, and how, right? Of all those things that really goes into your topics of the due diligence. And those are just lessons learned. Our first few investments were ballparks, hit them out of the ballparks, home runs. I would say we did so well on them that you just have to make sure you don't take your eyes off the ball and jump into things. So, and that's part of why we're here to help other venue owners or wedding professionals wanting to get into a venue. Is there's a lot more than just unlocking that door and welcoming your guests in, right?
Yeah, there sure is. So kind of wrapping this up a little bit, is there any advice that you can give to our viewers, and especially like if they don't have experience in this kind of professional environment like underwriting and all that, who can they seek out to hire for this type of help?
Yeah, I would say talking to your accountant, one of the biggest things is you're wanting to understand your own numbers, right? To make sure you look good for a bank, but then also understanding how to read other businesses' financials. We get asked by a lot of vendors who want to someday be venue owners, and they need to, talking to your CPA, talking to your accountant so you can understand those pieces, and that's something also we can help with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, we want to say thank you guys for tuning in to our channel today, and we do hope that this video helps and answers any questions. And also please remember to like and subscribe to us, it helps us out. And remember, we've learned a lot on this journey and we are here to help. So anyways, she's a smart one, isn't she? Guys like me, marry up and say bye, Tess. And again, this is Venue Rescue, Sheena Jones and Spud Jones. Thank you.
Bye.